So a very good evening. We're 10 minutes late because we've been here 40 minutes already, but unfortunately, the internet gremlins have been at us. Did you drink any Leprechaun's whiskey or anything like that, Marty, during the week or anything like that? Did you?
No, I try and avoid it as best I can.
Same here. It's never a good idea to do that. Never a good idea to do that. Now, we've got plenty of time this week because we'll run over 10 minutes, or we'll see how it goes. Because I have a feeling the gremlins are going to attack us again tonight. Don't you?
I can feel it in the air, Justin. I can feel it in the air.
We might be wrong, but touch wood. It'll go fairly well. I'm just watching the auto-generated captions coming up here just to make sure that when I say the word six, it says six.
Yes, this could prove detrimental to us. You know? You might say the wrong thing at the wrong time.
It comes up as six when I say it.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So, how's your week been?
It's been pretty top drawer. Good week.
Okay. All right. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. So, yourself. It'd be very polite for me not to ask about your week. How's your week?
Well, the tooth's improving slightly. I've now taken to having some whiskey every single night.
Always a progress. Always progress when you have a whiskey every night.
To try and knock the sort of stuff out of it. So what have you got for us this week?
Now, our broadcast, I think there was a bit of it went out that we did, and then we thought it wasn't going out. I think there was a delay or something. I don't know, but it went out. So just to recap, this is about the letter E. So this is to E or not to E. Which, to repeat, that this is nothing to do with ecstasy tablets. This is not what you're going to do at a party in a field somewhere. Okay, this is about a topic that a lot of people get very upset about. This there's people who write articles, and normally what happens is people in the US write an article about Scotch whiskey and spell it with an E, and lots of Scottish people get very irate and send over letters, possibly death threats, basically to say it's not spelt with an E, it's spelt properly, it's spelt without an E. Now, it's one of these pointless arguments, because it really can be spelt any way you like. And I'll show you. Well, I think you over the pictures. I'll show you why some countries spell it differently and how that all came about and stuff. And well, it's interesting enough. It's quite interesting whenever you see how it came about. Okay, so that's what we'll do. I actually done proper, I wouldn't say research, but looking stuff up this week, because I wanted to find out what countries actually do it all around the world. It's quite famous that Ireland spell whiskey with an E and Scotland spell it without. So I wanted to check and see what other countries were doing, and it was quite interesting. Hopefully this will be interesting enough. We'll go on a journey all around the world tonight. So we will. Okay?
Okay, yes. So where are we going to head to first then?
What we're going to do is I have covered this before, but I want to briefly go over it again. I'm just going to pour myself a dram of this lovely stuff, a wee halfing of this wonderful port cask finished Bushmills, superb stuff. Steamship range, very nice attitude. Anyway, right. The word whiskey comes from the Gaelic, Irish Gaelic, Ushkaba or Ushkabea, okay, which means the water of life. Okay, we've been over that. But what happened was it was kind of shortened down. You know, it's a bit like if someone's called Michael, it's shortened down to Mickey or that kind of thing. So it went from Ushkaba to Ushki. Then, if you're ever on the north coast of Ireland, up near where I'm at here, they wouldn't say whiskey; they would say whisky. Whisky. It's a different pronunciation. So it got anglicised and became whisky. That sort of sharper note in it. So it was whiskey, and it was spelt basically whatever way you want it. So Ushkey, USHKEY, it was spelled USHKIE. There was no standardised spelling, okay? Now, we'll go forward a little bit and we'll go to the US, the old US of A. And after the American War of Independence in 1776, they had to raise money to try and basically pay for the war. They tried various tax-raising measures, but in 1791, a man called Alexander Hamilton decided to bring in a tax on whiskey, okay, on liquor, so they would say in the States. Now, it was the first time a tax on a domestic product that happened in the new independent USA. Hamilton had written a ration book for soldiers and what they were a part of their rations, and in it he refers to whiskey, and he spells it both ways. He spells it with an E and without an E. However, when in 1791 the act was drawn up, it was spelled WHISKEY. Now, as I'm sure you're well aware, once something's done by a government, as such, that's kind of it standardised. But certainly, if you bring in a law, as this was a tax, it was sort of standardised that was how it was spelt. It was brought in really to raise, probably about $70 million. A few years later,
are you telling me that they couldn't tax it if it was spelt the other way?
No, that wasn't. No, it was just that was the way it was spelt on the basically a legal document, and thus then that was really how it was spelt all the way across. If you tried to con the way out of paying it by putting a different spelling on it, you weren't going. The tax man likely this kind of thing, Justin. I'm sure.
I thought it was too good to be true.
But basically, it was standardised in sort of a legal definition, if you like, and that was how then the US government spelt it. It led to the first rebellion in US, and quite closely connected to this part of the world, to Ulster, because it was the Scots-Irish in the US who, well, lots of them fought alongside Washington. And they were the people who were going to be probably most severely affected by this law or this tax. So they rose up in rebellion. It was very quickly put down, but the government in the US made a concession and basically did away with the tax. They changed it and taxed other things. But it was fundamentally important to that time to try and raise the money to pay for the War of Independence. So that was it standardised in the US. Back over in the UK, it was pretty much de rigueur that most places spelled it without an E. Now, when I say most places, I mean Scotland and Ireland. Now, I have a couple of. I don't tend to have a lot of this stuff. I sort of shipped these out of a cupboard. These old whiskey advertising plates. Now you see that one there, Cork Irish whiskey, spelled without an E. Okay, so there is this sort of misconception that Cork whiskey was spelled with an E. It really wasn't. Our old friends have this mirror. Our old friends in Dunville's we had last week. See, spelt without a Y or spelt
Okay.
without.
Yeah.
So it was fairly common. I'll just set these out of the way 2 seconds. It was fairly common that was how they were spelt. Yeah. So you'll see.
Yeah.
Paddy's whiskey, etc., etc. So most whiskey producers in Ireland spelled it without an E.
Okay.
Now, as we've talked about before, Irish whiskey went through a total collapse, essentially. And what happened was the distilleries in Dublin essentially shut down. All through Ireland, they were shutting down. Until really you had, in essence, 2 distilleries. In practice, you really only had one running. All of the distilleries in Dublin shut down and moved to Cork. You still had little old bushmills up on the north coast who always, and I have a, yep, they always spelt theirs EY. Bushmills always spelt theirs EY. Okay?
Right.
So Irish distillers amalgamated. They basically they were a monopoly of whiskey production in Ireland, and they decided to standardise the spelling of it, to put in the E essentially as a marketing ploy, so that it was spelt the same way as it was in the States. That's essentially why Irish whiskey is spelt with an E. There is a story, and funny, a lady repeated this to me earlier on today, that Scotch whiskey spells it Whisky, and that nobody else can make whiskey, so nobody else should spell it that way. The truth of the matter is, the vast majority of countries do spell it the same way as the Scots. The countries that don't, and this is where my looking around today, or all week really, it comes into play. The countries who spell it the way the Irish spell it might surprise some people. The Chinese, well, when they spell it whatever way they like. There's really only one whiskey producer in China, and on their different bottlings, they do spell it a couple of different ways. The Golong distillery, and they spell it both ways, just whatever way it takes their fancy.
There you go. Now they have it spelt with E there on that one.
Exactly. But in some of the other ones, they don't. They just spell it without the E. Okay.
Right, I'm with you. Yeah.
Now, another country is Hungary, and they have 4 distilleries, and this is the Gemenek distillery, and they spell it with an E. Now, again, another country, and this is more understandable why this country would do it, but Mexico spell it EY. They have you see there the 2 compadres whiskey. It's close to the US, so it's totally understandable why they would do it. Again, I got some of my stats most of my stats actually of a website called Whisky Base, which is a very, very thorough database of whiskey all around the world. Now, there's 3 distilleries in Mexico that produce whiskey. Okay, now I have to clarify this. These are not all distilleries; they're whiskey producers, if you like. Some of these will be buying in there. They won't own a distillery, but it's whiskey brands, probably whiskey producers, distilleries, brand owners, anything. Okay. Rather interestingly, Papua New Guinea, the distillery over there, they spell it EY.
Is that Papua New Guinea? That one?
Captain Moresby. No, that's
it there. I have it here. Captain Moresby. Yes.
Captain Moresby. This is produced in Papua New Guinea, which I find there's only one whiskey distillery in Papua New Guinea. So I mean, I'm going to go through a few other countries here that have whiskey distilleries. That's the Philippines. Again, the Philippines was an American colony for a while, so the embassy one is it's kind of understandable as to why they would have spell it the American way, if you like, the Irish way. Poland, spell it with an E. These are not hard and fast rules, okay? It's the same as most of this stuff. There's lots of exceptions. So the Wolf and Oak Distillery, spell it E-I.
Yeah, I think I have them. Yeah.
You should have.
Yeah.
There we go. A really nice looking label, that, if I'm totally honest. It's very.
I must admit, some of these bottles, you know, they do speak whiskey to you instantly, even though they're not very traditional. Some of them.
Absolutely. I really like the design of it. I think it's really, really nice. Another country, Slovenia. Right, it has 2 distilleries, and one of which is the Crucifix Distillery.
Right, I'll have to try and find that because there's an awful lot of photos tonight, because an awful lot of countries have fantastic whiskey. Now, if I can give some people a mention here tonight, for technical reasons, even on Facebook itself, I can't actually see all your comments tonight. So, you know, Germany use both ways because they're fence sitters. Now, I better say fence properly in case that comes out as something else, because I'm pretty sure that too.
We deal with Germany as towards the end, shall we say?
We will. James Moira Doherty is saying, good evening from Donegal, chaps. Hello from Donegal. Yes, thank you very much for that. Julie Mason is saying Irish and American whiskey spelling. Gosh, this is going that fast tonight. I can't read them all. So let me say, Conor Ryan, hello to you. Sean O'Neill, hello to you. Michael Matthews, hello to you. Sherman Wright, hello to you. Dave Cummins, hello to you. Trevor Watson, hello to you. Paul O'Kane. We don't know what's going on tonight. We're having some technical difficulties. We can't bring you your comments on screen for whatever reason, but I am reading them on Facebook as we do this, which, needless to say, you shouldn't do, because the Mobius loop might try and kill me like that there. So therefore, that's why I'm not reading your comments out tonight. We are live. Trust me. Aren't we really live? Maury, how many fingers am I holding up?
Hang on. I'm going to say 2, but I can't see you.
Can you not see me tonight? No? How many fingers am I holding up?
I'm going to say 2.
I'm holding up 4. People are going to think this isn't live tonight. You've got your hand on your chin.
No, because no, I just can't see you. It's not that I have you on. I have you on the other screen. I brought up the big screen, but I can see your 4 fingers coming up now. There's like a 2-minute delay.
2-minute delay. I don't know how this works, but it amazes me. But we're talking tonight, does whiskey have an E or does it not have an E? And why not? Marty knows why. Back to you, Marty.
Marty knows why. Ish. Now, those countries that I'm only after rhyming off to you or telling you are they're kind of tiddlers in the grand scheme of things. The vast majority of countries spell whiskey the way the Scots spell it. So, for example, Crown Royal, Canadian whiskey, it spells it Scottish way. Hardly surprising when you consider just how many Scots actually went there. There is this sort of story that American spelling of whiskey came about with the mass immigration of 1850s, when loads of Irish poured in to the eastern coast of America. It's not really. It was being spelt the way they spell it prior to that, and as I say, it was standardised about 60 odd years before that. So, Canadian Club. So I have bourbon. So we have Four Roses here. But Maker's Mark, Old Forester, and George Dickel, these are also bourbons, but they spell it the Scottish way. So again, that's not hard and fast. We have India, Amrut, and they spell it again Scottish. Japan, we have a bottle of Suntory. Again, they spell it Scottish way. This isn't surprising because the Japanese whiskey really just came about from essentially one guy coming over in the 1920s over to Scotland to learn how to make whiskey. So it's not surprising that they spell it that way. But to go through, I'll go through some of the countries that spell it the Scottish way, and I'll tell you how many distilleries there are in some of these countries. This will probably come as a fairly big shock to a lot of people, because most people just think whiskey comes from Ireland, Scotland, the US, and Japan. That's essentially what people think these days. But you have all of these are countries that spell it the Scottish way. Okay, in Australia you have 47 whiskey distilleries.
Wow.
Austria has 61. Now, to put that in context, Ireland currently has 25 with another 20 on the books. So probably heading towards a total of 45 within the next few years. And still lagging way behind Austria. Okay. Canada has 52. France, 60. You have the Netherlands has 34 whiskey distilleries. Rwanda has one, the Thousand Hills Distillery, which I love. I love the idea of Rwandan whiskey, and probably quite good because it certainly looks that way. Anyway, let me see. Where are we? The Netherlands had 34. Sweden has 21 whiskey distilleries. Switzerland has 57. But the big surprise of the whole lot is probably Germany. Going by Whiskey Base, which is fairly authoritative on most things, how many distilleries do you think Germany has, Justin?
I would say if Rwanda has one, Germany probably has 100. It would have to have 100 because a lot of these websites are done in German for the German connoisseur.
Well, if I said that Scotland has about 130 odd distilleries, how many do you think Germany would have?
Well, it's not going to have as many as Scotland. It's going to have less, about 100, I would say.
They have 210.
210?
210 distilleries.
Yep. What about places like Italy?
Italy has one. Italy has one distillery. Sorry, it's 4 distilleries. That one, the Puni distillery, I'd love to go and see it because it looks like the coolest looking building. It's got real style about it, it's sort of typical Italian. It's got real style about it. The Italians, I'll run off another few countries that have whiskey distilleries. Kenya has one. Liechtenstein has the Tesla distillery. You have Poland has 4 whiskey distilleries. Pakistan has a whiskey distillery.
Wow, I thought they were all teetotal there.
No, they're not. Surprisingly, Russia only has 1 whiskey distillery. So it has. As I say, you feel free to scroll through all of these.
Yeah, there's you sent me through hundreds tonight. There's the Rwandan one. There's the Rwandan one. It's an interesting one because it's quite quite an avant-garde bottle. There it is. Have you tried that Rwandan one? Have you?
Nope. Justin, if you think of it, if you're trying to go through all of these stuff, and don't forget, some of these are they're not cheap. They're not particularly expensive for entry level ones, but getting your hand on them by the time you get them over here, it can prove costly enough. And to be fair, you can have quite. You need to have very deep pockets to get lots of this stuff.
Okay.
I mean, Australia. Now, bearing in mind, Australia has a population of what, 25, 26 million.
Mm-hmm.
Australia has 47 distilleries on it.
Right. Okay.
Lots of them actually in Tasmania. Tasmania has this great tradition of whiskey distilling. I once met a girl who was in charge of the Tasmanian Whisky Academy, which it was. I sort of thought this, this was one of these Mickey Mouse little outfits. It really isn't. There's about 20 distilleries in Tasmania, and lots of them doing lots of very different things. So, yeah, it's this whole whiskey world, as I say, it now is a global industry, and lots of new ones are coming on. And I know we started talking about this with an E, without an E, etc., etc. But really, it highlights just how much whiskey has come along in the last, well, certainly in the last 10 years. And Ireland, when people talk about Ireland, new distilleries opening up, and where are they getting the traction from? Where are they getting the sales from? Where are they going to get the basically, is there room for them? Well, you have to think, if there's room for 210 distilleries in Germany alone, and Germany doesn't have a whiskey pedigree or brand, essentially, I can't see how Ireland can't really keep going, doing what they're doing, and really flourish for the whole industry. I really think they can. There's a Ireland has an advantage over most of these distilleries around the world.
So people were asking, what about Russia?
Russia. How many distilleries do you think Russia would have?
It's a big country, but they're more into the vodka. So I would say 250.
One.
One?
One. The Kovsko. My Russian pronunciation is not very good now, I have to say. Praskovsko distillery. There's only one, according to Whiskey Base. There's only one proper whiskey producing distillery in Russia.
Okay, I will try and find that one to show it to you. A lot of people are having difficulty tonight. I can't actually see the comments in the system tonight for whatever reason. I do know there's an awful lot of people watching, but maybe it could be there's too many people watching and just can't cope with it, because it does seem to be growing exponentially, this show. So I can't actually see your comments tonight for whatever reason. So I'm sorry about that. I will try and read out some of your names when I look it up on Facebook. I'm trying to find that big number 6 on the Russian bottle, and I'm doing my best to find it, scrolling through all the things as I go, and I try and make the entire system not keyed over on me. Let's see who asked that about the whiskey, the Russian whiskey. It was Michael Matthews asked that. Yeah, okay. Michael Matthews asked that. And Trevor's asking a very good question. Who makes the most whiskey by bottles? That's quite an ingenious question, Trevor, actually. So he's doing it by bottles.
Yeah. Who would make the most whiskey would be probably, I would hazard a guess, it would be our good friends over in India, I would imagine. The Indians, you have to remember the size of India. The best selling whiskey brands in the world are all Indian. They make huge amounts of this stuff. It's probably, the quality of it would probably be debatable. This now, I won't not to say I'm disparaging about Amrit. This is good quality stuff. This is 46%, and this is Indian made. But there's lots and lots of people drink whiskey in India, and I would imagine they probably make the most by bottle, if you like. But again, there's not very many distilleries in India. There's only 7, but they do make huge volumes of stuff.
This is the Russian one here. Do they actually write the labels in English so you can understand what it is?
I think that's probably what they do. Yeah. The idea being that, well, Lord Whisky, people know what it is.
I've got to ask you this because some people are going to say, do you have a backpacker locked up in your bathroom or something like that, Marty? Because I can hear some knocking in the background.
Do you know what it is?
Popcorn?
The castle out the front, it's their festival night. So there's fireworks going off.
Yeah, I thought that was tomorrow night. I thought that was tomorrow night. It's fireworks going off.
If you scroll down this and go back about 5 minutes, you'll hear the first bang and me going. I'm trying to play it cool, Justin. I was trying to.
No, we can definitely hear it. And I thought to myself, what on earth's going on? Is his son out the back kicking a ball about or something like that? There.
You think I'm trying? You think there's somebody locked in my downstairs bathroom desperately trying to? No. No. They're having a party over in the thing. I've had to listen. I had to listen to Willie Drennan singing the Lambeg rap. Now, for anybody who has never encountered this,
you can actually watch this online. By the way, it is online at their festival. But at least it wasn't Nathan Carter this year, or maybe he was there, was he?
Yes, Nathan was there. Yeah.
Hold on, I need another drink.
Well, totally, guys. Have you ever heard? If anybody, just to clarify, Willie Drennan is like an Ulster Scots musician, right? And he plays the Lambeg drum. And as does my uncles, my family used to play the Lambeg drum. I actually genuinely have a mini Lambeg sitting up the stairs that belongs to my cousin's son. And for some reason, I've ended up with it in my house. Anyway.
It's very, very loud, by the way. It is very, very loud.
Yes, my house is shaking a little bit. So I thought it was a bomb outside for a second. Anyway.
We have to explain the topography to people. Glenarm's built in the valley. You live in a hill. You're actually higher up than the turrets of the castle, but they're firing them from down in the valley up high, and they're exploding about a couple of 100 feet just closer to you than there would be the population. It is safe.
Yes. Do not fear, fans. Do not panic. Perfectly safe. Just as long as not drink one. But no, I started banging there and forgot all about it. I think that's that over.
Okay.
So do yourselves a favour. Check out Willie Drennan doing the Lambeg rap. He raps, and one of the lyrics is, "We don't do cocaine because it rots your brain. We just do the Lambeg drum."
All right, and you can actually feel your stomach contents move when they hit the thing. It is fantastic. I have a little video of one that I can actually share with people. I'll show you it in the comments below, so you know what a Lambeg drum is.
Yeah, we'll have to tag Willie in this, and maybe share the link. Maybe share the link for the Lambeg drum. Oh, can I just? Airing off the topic a little bit here. Just to let people know, I apologise. For some people were supposed to get the Dunville's whiskey package for last week. I know a guy who got his yesterday. DHL. There was a problem. DHL, when you're posting something, when you're sending something out with them, have to have an email address and a telephone number. Rather than go and ask the people who won the samples for their information, because they don't particularly want to hold that for GDPR and all that kind of stuff, I give them my email address and telephone number. DHL must have sent it out. If the person wasn't there, that I get emails and stuff, and then people were asking me for confirmation codes and all that kind of stuff. I do apologise. It was a bit of a mess up with DHL. I don't think it was too many people. It was maybe 2 or 3 people, but I do apologise to those guys because they should have got them. Okay.
Listen, it does happen, Marty. I'm actually waiting for a book coming from Cumber about Rollo from one of our colleagues, and it still hasn't come.
Yeah, that's.
And I could have walked to Cumber and back again and got the book quicker than it is, but it does happen from time to time. I think a lot of these parcel places are overwhelmed at the minute too, as well, because everybody's buying from home. Now, some of these comments have popped through. Now, you have to go to Irish Whiskey Review / live to comment. Some of these comments have popped through on my iPad, but they haven't appeared on the system yet. I think Facebook's been having problems all week, actually, Marty. I think there was issues with stuff.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of people earlier on in the week told me that their Facebook just died on them. So I don't.
Yeah, I had that. That's the first time I've ever happened. Let me see. Jonathan McCulloch saying something very funny. A Scottish lad told me that Irish whiskey companies drop the E in the whiskey because they then think that they can get more liquid in the bottle. Oh, that's a classic. That is a classic. We've answered most of the questions. We've got to do the Germany one.
Right. We'll go on to the German one. The Germans spell whiskey. Some out of the 210, as you can imagine, there are variations on this. So some of them are with an E, without an E, and then there's this one from the Holler Distillery. They have it Whisky, WHESS.
Maybe it's Rudolf Hess's whiskey. This one, HESS.
Don't mention the word, Justin. Don't mention the word.
All right. But
they have this, and it's to do with where they're from and stuff. But you just know that, not to cast aspersions on the good people of the Republic of Germany, you just know that there was lots of German people sitting around, and they said, "We will call this whiskey and spell it WHESSKEY. We are having very good fun, are we not? Yes, very good. Ha 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 ha." You know,
why did they not have an S set in it?
I don't think having right in the center of it the letters SS really, you know.
We'll be getting letters from the German boat shaft here.
Oh, yeah. I had a German lady. I had a German lady in the house here today. She came down for her dinner. She was working up in Glenara Forest, and she popped on. And I told her about this, and she just rolled her eyes and just said, "Germans shouldn't try to be funny."
Okay, right. All right. Very, 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 very good. Now, with another German one here, is that one Beaverbach? Beaverbach. We're going to get in trouble. What did I say there? Beaver. I have to lean over to see this because I can't turn it around in this system. Beaverbach.
Beaverbach.
Yeah.
Yes. See, they spell it the American way, the Irish American way, whatever way you want to put it. Then you have other distilleries that don't; they just spell it the Scottish way. But as I said, you also have Maker's Mark, which is a bourbon, which spell it the Scottish way. Okay, now I will just make a mention of the new Waterford distillery, who have recently opened up. Or they've been open a while now, but they've released their own whiskey, their own spirit there a few weeks ago, and they are doing away with convention, and they spell it. I think you have a picture of their bottle, like the blue bottle.
Is it that one there? Yep,
the one. And if you notice, just over on the right there, they spell it WHISKY. Now, on their website, they write about this and about why they spell it like this. They say that EY is a marketing ploy that's really not that old, and actually the proper way of spelling whiskey is without the E. Under the European Union technical file of what whiskey, it states all whiskies has to be Irish whiskey. Has to be spelled. It can be spelled either Whiskey. It can be Ushkabe Uranach, or it can be Irish whiskey spelled without the E. So they've dropped it. And they've returned to the sort of old way of doing it, if you like. So hopefully they probably quite like to get some letters about it, letters of complaint about it. It's kind of what they sort of are setting out to do. They kind of want to shake things up a bit by the way they're doing things, and this is one of the ways they're doing it. Interestingly, what Waterford are doing is they're doing single farm bottlings. So they've went round to single farms and are making whiskey just from basically this field, and they have this database as such where you can go and find out all the story of what's in your bottle, etc., etc. Yeah, so that is essentially the whole story of the E and without the E, and it's just a pity I can't get any questions because normally people do ask this, but maybe I've sort of covered enough of the whole thing to satisfy people. But that's essentially why we spell it with an E. It's basically in Ireland it was a marketing ploy, if you like, and it stemmed from, if you like, the US, who was the biggest market for it.
It's quite strange because I know there has been 27 comments now, but I can only see 4 of them when I look in Facebook, and I can see more when I look on. I can see your names. I'll give you all a mention tonight. It's the same names appearing again. Weird, really weird. Something is going on with Facebook tonight. So make sure you comment, like, and share. I do know there's a lot of people watching this at the minute, but we can't see your comments tonight for whatever reason. Make sure you're always commenting, liking, and sharing on the ulstrawhiskey.com Facebook page, which is /Irish Whiskey Review /live. For whatever reason, I don't actually, it's not actually Facebook that I use to do this. It's a very expensive app, and I can't see it. And I know there's over 1,000 people are watching in the hour, but I can't see any signal of anybody watching in the app for whatever reason tonight. So we do apologize tonight if you're getting in touch with us. I do know Paul's on again this week. Jacqueline Welsh is saying Germany makes some really good whiskey.
Sure, absolutely.
And you have tried some of it.
Tried some of them, absolutely. I'd love to try some of the more outlandish ones. I mean, there's a whiskey distillery in Bhutan, which I think would be, I'm sure that I see you've put up the Kavalan from Taiwan. Lots of these countries. I mean, I was a little disparaging of Indian whiskey, but this is very good. I mean, this is peated Indian whiskey, and this is very good. And I'm sure lots and lots of good German distilleries, as there's lots and lots of good Scottish distilleries and lots of good Irish distilleries. And I'd like to think at some point some of these, likely the likes of the Australians will end up getting a sort of regional, how would you put it, regional distinction of their own. And I don't see why they couldn't. So, as I say, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, there's lots of them. Sweden has, let me check my notes, Justin. Sweden has 21 distilleries in McMyra. This stuff. So I have McMyra whiskey here. Ian, this is good stuff. This is well worth trying. So don't get stuck in don't get too hung up on spelling. Don't be writing angry notes to journalists who write a page and misspell a whiskey from a certain region. It's really not all that important, to be honest. But as I said, I wanted to use this tonight to sort of show just how global whiskies are, and that there are lots and lots and lots of things to try. These are not white spirits. They're not like vodkas. These take time to make, and there are a lot more craft to them than probably what you would classify as your white spirits. Your vodkas and stuff. So yeah, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say on spelling. Uh, I'd like anybody, if anybody has any questions, to get back to us.
Always type them in, because we do look through them as the week goes forward, and that's how Marty decides what he's going to do next week. So we're going to leave it in 5 minutes' time. Sorry we were late tonight. There was technical difficulties tonight. Not that we changed anything. They have updated the app recently, and it didn't go through the first time. Actually, it was the third time we went through tonight to go out. But if you do leave your comments below, we do look through them, and we do check them up. And any questions, Marty will try and answer directly. Don't forget that we have a sort of blog which Marty is going to add to, and when I type it in, it doesn't come up on screen tonight, but I will type it in so you can actually see how long it is. But if you go to ulsterwhiskey.com's Facebook page or the website, this is actually the address of the to sign up. All you need to do is go sign up, click that, say you agree to the GDPR. That means getting sent junk mail from us, which you'll find lovely and interesting. That is how you do it. Hopefully you can see that on the screen. It hasn't booted through here for me yet. Also, you can see it in the list. If I type it in the list and send it to you, you might be able to see that. So that's how you join the blogs, because Marty's going to do something very special, because you're actually taking part in Belfast Whisky Week, which is nearing very close now, Marty.
Yes, 24th, the Whisky Week kicks off the following Monday. So Monday week, I'll be doing a sold out introduction to Irish whiskey. So there'll be 15 distilleries, 18 whiskies, 7 hours of me prattling on. Yeah, but I mean, the whole festival, it's shaped up to be something outstanding. We were talking to Paul last week. Lots and lots and lots of exclusives, special releases, etc., etc. I have a piece on it in the Sunday Life paper tomorrow. Yeah, so if anyone's wanting to take part in it, there's still tickets left, although there's lots of sold out events, but lots of local distilleries, Irish distilleries. Yeah, so all good, all good.
Now, I'm going to read some of these questions, Marty, because they have managed to pop through some questions on here on Facebook. Breen Malloy, if that's correct pronunciation, flyingtumbler.com. Have you come across them pre-launch in Carlo?
I haven't. Sorry. Flyingtumbler.com, is that I assume that's a shop?
No, it must be some sort of whiskey shop. Hold on, I'm going to look it up. Flying. No, my luck will be something bad. Flying tumbler.com. See, flyingtumbler.com, and we'll just have a look to see what it is. Oh, it's a new Irish whiskey.
Ooh.
And you haven't heard of it, Marty? He's got one over on
you. They're coming thick and fast, Justin. There seems to be a new whiskey on the market basically every couple of days. Lots of them they're not distilleries. What they're doing is they're people are bringing out Irish whiskey. Lots of it is.
Look at this here. Look at this here. This is fantastic, Marty.
What thing?
Look at that there.
Mm-hmm.
Flyingtumbler.com. There's their website there. Let me see what it says on it. They've a home, a shop, and a cart shop. Let me see. Oh, look at that there.
The bird. There's coming out thick and fast. I was talking to a guy this week who is building a distillery, and he's talking about various new stuff. At the rate that it's happening at the minute is really quite amazing. And there's lots and lots of new brands coming out. Not necessarily distilleries, but lots of new brands.
Michael Matthews was talking about the new release from Kinsale this week as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of stuff. That's what I say. Yeah. It's almost impossible to keep pace of everything that's going on. The distilleries are coming thick and fast. Never mind the brands.
Yep. Okay. Let me see. We've got some good comments in tonight. Given that whiskey and whiskey are both acceptable under the GI, it sounds like a wonderful fudge. Should Irish distilleries do one thing, or is it okay to use different spellings in your view?
It's okay. Put it like this. I don't really see what the big complaint would be about using different spellings. It seems that, in the US, there's distilleries that are brands that use different spelling. In the UK, it seems they have a sort of standardised without an E, so the likes of Penderyn, the new distilleries in England and Wales, of which, how many distilleries do you think there are, whiskey producing distilleries there is in England and Wales now, Justin?
I've seen that map. There's about 60, is there?
57.
57. That was good. I'm beginning to learn this. Do you see now, Marty? We've been asked a very good question. What about Greek whiskey? Now, Metaxa is Greek brandy, although it's not really a brandy, is it?
No. Greece is not actually listed as having any whiskey producing distilleries. So you have to remember there's lots of places that define stuff as whiskey that wouldn't meet the specifications for the product in the UK, for example. There's whiskies in the likes of the Philippines. The reason I know this is a girl brought me back a bottle of Filipino whiskey not that long ago, and it's only 35%, which would mean it's not technically whiskey in Ireland. So
even though there's a Greek Whiskey Association?
There could be, yes, but there's lots of whiskey associations and whiskey groups. I'll give you an example. A girl that you and I both know, German girl, she's from East Berlin, Zilke. She owned a bar and she used to run the East Berlin Irish Whiskey Association,
right?
Which is a niche market. But she ran a bar and that's what she did. She told me once when they were closing the bar, she said for about 3 nights they had a lock-in every night, basically drinking up all the old whiskey stock that they had. And she was telling me some of the stuff that they drank, but worth a fortune.
Right.
They just all sat and got pissed on it for 2 or 3 days. But but all these associations, there's distilleries all over the world, and there'd be an awful lot more popping up. In the US, as I said the other day, in the US, you now have over 1,600 whiskey producing distilleries. So it's growing apace, and all the better.
Okay, well, that's great. Sorry we haven't been able to get through all your messages tonight because of technical difficulties. We can't actually see them appearing in the stream. I'm having to cross-reference and look them up on Facebook. Marty, is there any there that you can see that jump out from you? If you can see them.
I can't even see you.
You can't even see me tonight for some reason. Okay. We're on for a good night next Saturday. Oh, what's happening next Saturday?
I don't know.
Oh, the wee girls. He's talking about the wee girls, I think, maybe, because the wee girls are on. They're on for longer. Maca, the Irish trad group. They're on next week. I think that's what he's talking about. Or maybe Trevor's hoping that his bottle turns up in the post.
Does anybody have any suggestion of what to talk about next week? because I'm going to have to think of something.
Shall we do a prelude to the Belfast Whisky Festival next week, Marty, and what's happening in it?
It will already have started by that point, my friend. Already have started by that point.
What date is it today? Hold on.
It's the
18th. Yeah, you're what? Tell us when people can catch you. You're sold out, are you?
I'm sold out on the Monday. Yes, I'm sold out. So it's an introduction to Irish whiskey. As I say, 15 distilleries, 18 whiskies, and 7 hours of me. Hopefully not just me prattling on, but I'll be hosting it, and that's the plan.
But if you go to Belfast Whisky Week on Eventbrite, you can book. There is some availability there because actually what they've done is they released extra. And the one that fascinated me was the old whiskies. You said that was well worth trying because they've doubled up on it.
Well, put it like this. Excuse me. There'll be whiskey there that once it's gone forever. You'll never taste these anywhere else. The Irish whiskey, you don't really get. There's tiny little amounts of it, of stuff aged sort of 30 years plus. The reason being, there was no distilleries. People weren't drinking it back then. So to get stuff that's pre sort of 1970s, there was very little of it to start with. Doing the likes of these that Paul has set up, there's always going to be less and less and less. You're never going to get more of it. So it's totally unique. The one that I'm most interested in is he's done a Buckfast finished. What they did was they got little small casks, filled them with various weird and wonderful stuff, and then filled it up with whiskey to see what way it turned out. One of which is Buckfast. Another one was WKD, and it's just fun, you know, and that's what this should be all about. I get really sort of fed up with guys sitting like this. Yes, I can smell hollyhocks and spring mornings and bubblegum and holly and heather and barley, and it's like, guys, just make it a bit more fun, you know. And hopefully that's what we do. I think we try and keep things on a bit more of a fun level, you know.
And there's also going to be quite a lot of entertainment in this Belfast Whisky Week online as well.
Yeah, lots of musicians, lots of comedians, lots of that kind of thing. So it's the biggest Irish whiskey festival probably in the world. I can't see there being a bigger one. And this is the second year of it running. Last year, it was basically done in a few weeks to try and get it put together. It went well this year, but Paul's had more time, more effort, etc., etc. And I think what he's put together is really superb. And round of applause, well done. You know.
Okay, and if you want to find out more about Belfast Whisky Week, all you need to do is go to the Belfast Whisky Week events on Eventbrite, and you can actually see the list of things that is left here. If you want to look at this, you can actually see that there's certain events have been sold out, but there are 43 events still live. And if it shows up that there's availability, that means that you can book it and go to it. There it is there. So a lot of these have been doubled up and extended because of demand, but there's certainly time for you to get involved at the minute. So there's a list of all the events that there's still some availability for. So have a look at that. That's Belfast Whisky Week taking place from Friday, July the 24th.
Yep.
So Marty, we'll catch you next week if you're still in the land of the living after the Belfast Whisky Week.
As long as the Earl over here doesn't blow me to pieces with his fireworks.
I know. If it's not one thing, it's another thing. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Sorry we couldn't put everything on screen because of technical difficulties. Speak to you again during the week, Marty. Take it easy. Good night.
Bye-bye.